You are listening to the Two and Out CFL podcast, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
As soon as Ty knows that he's got somebody that's got his back, his mouth just grows exponentially. It's just...
I don't go looking for it.
Oh,
I don't go looking for it.
Really?
Grab some poutine and a double-double. It's time for the Two and Out CFL podcast.
Now they have to kick it out, and they do!
Every week, Travis Currah.
Does anybody still care about this podcast?
And Brazilian Ty.
Hunters are people too.
Talk fantasy football, bring you the latest in CFL news, and sprinkle in a little bit of nonsense.
Are you kidding? This is unbelievable!
Ready, set, hunt!
And we are part of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. I'm Travis Currah. Brazilian Ty is here as Week 7 has come to a close in the Canadian Football League. About the halfway point of the 2021 season. Just got to start the show by sending our condolences to the Ottawa Gee-Gees organization and the family of defensive lineman Francis Perrone. He ended up inexplicably passing away after the game against the University of Toronto over the weekend. 25 years old. Man, that's tough for football in Canada. That's tough for his team. That's tough for his family. It's tough to talk about this, Ty.
Yeah, at 25, you seem invincible, right?
Yeah.
It's every parent's worst nightmare to outlive your child, and now his parents and the rest of his family have to go through that, and it sucks. And like you said, his condolences out to family, team. Even just the OUA. It's a loss of a family member really for those guys, and it's just inexplicably they don't know what happened, or if they do know that nothing's been released yet. It's just not an ideal way to start a football season.
Yeah, what a tough situation for that family and that team. We'll get right back to the CFL games from this past weekend. This episode of Two and Out brought to you by the Business Council of Alberta. If you've ever wondered what it takes to create a good life in an equally good society, one where people, business, and the environment can flourish, well, check out Alberta Better, a podcast by the Business Council of Alberta, and it's on a journey to understand what it takes to create a good life here in Alberta and how we, as Albertans, businesses, and governments can shape our society so everyone prospers. Find new episodes of Alberta Better on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also listen at businesscouncilab.com/Alberta Better Podcast. That's businesscouncilab.com/Alberta Better Podcast. New episodes drop every other Tuesday.
Join Two and Out for CFL Fantasy and CFL Pick'em and show Currah and Ty what you got.
They are who we thought they were!
Just click cflfantasy.tsn.ca
Enough from talking about it. There has to be consequences.
and pick'em.cfl.ca.
All right, Ty. Starting with, it's got to be by far the worst game of the week, the Hamilton Tiger Cats beating the Calgary Stampeders 23-17. I guess there were some plays made in the second half, but that first half was tough. That's preseason style football.
I've never been so happy to work.
The halftime show was actually more entertaining than the game.
That's when I got home, back to camp, and so I missed it. But I caught I was in and out of it, and from what I heard and from what I was texted by a few people, it was probably the highlight of the night.
Yeah, the Matt Dunnigan, Milt Stegall pulled no punches when talking about that game and kind of trashing both sides. For me, the Calgary Stampeders' excuse was the Ticats defense, and the Ticats excuse, they were doing a classic game manager role for David Watford because he goes 19 of 22 for 149 yards. He did what he was told. He did what he was asked. He didn't turn the ball over. It actually just looked like Hamilton was afraid to have any sort of passing attack. And I guess it worked, right?
Hamilton was playing bantam football. It was almost like they weren't allowed to pass the ball.
Yep, that's exactly right.
And I can't say I blame them considering who their starting quarterback was. There's no slight on David Waters. We haven't seen him play.
Right.
In a large
he didn't
amount.
Get much
so
practice.
I don't know. No, I don't know what everybody expected. I'm not going to lie. I'm probably never betting on the CFL again after this weekend. But this game went the exact opposite way that I thought it was going to.
I think it went the exact opposite way a lot of people thought it was going to. And I think Hamilton kind of deserves credit for that. It was ugly, but if Hamilton had called...
That's the only way they were going to win.
Yeah. If Tommy Condell called the same game he has been all season, then Calgary's defensive line was going to eat up Hamilton all night. Mm-hmm. And they never got the chance. There was all sorts of misdirection. They were running every which way. And I know it wasn't your traditional, just because the leading rusher for the Ticats was David Watford with 35 yards. But there was all sorts of sweeps and screens and all kinds of things. And I think it kept Calgary's D-line off balance a little bit.
Right. And, I mean, that's one way, and we've seen teams do it against Winnipeg too. With the screens and those little, block releases from the backs and the sweeps and everything to mitigate the rush and the pressure you get from a defensive line. And Hamilton did really well on Friday night. And, knowing who they had at quarterback, knowing what their game plan had to be. I mean, he only threw 3 incompletions. Yeah, high percentage throws for sure. Game manager, we can throw that out there, but I mean, I don't know what else you do in that situation. It's not like he's not a gunslinger, and if he is, we don't know that yet. He's not going to go out there and throw the ball 50 times like you would see Trevor Harris or Michael Riley do. He played the game he needed to play to win, and especially against a defense like Calgary that can, they can feast on turnovers.
They can,
They can get such good pressure on the quarterback, and their secondary is really good. And they just kind of negated that with their offensive game plan.
But what is Calgary's excuse, and where does that team go at the quarterback position? Credit goes
Bo
to
lose his job.
I don't know. That might be a legitimate question, which is kind of crazy to see.
2022 starting quarterback for your Ottawa RedBlacks, Bo Levi Mitchell.
16 of 28, 170 yards and an interception. Of course, credit goes to Hamilton and the defense. Their defense was basically at full strength. Simone Lawrence gets himself another touchdown. He's scoring touchdowns. He's playing fast, and the whole defense is playing fast.
Is he your East defensive player right now?
Hey, that is probably what he might be, the defensive MOP at this point of the season. Kadeem Carey, they couldn't get the running game going. 7 carries, 26 yards. That was a nice spot on my fantasy roster.
But 4 on targets.
Right at the very end of the game, Jake Mayer comes in, 9 of 9, 80 yards. It's a touchdown drive. I think, and the Stamps have a bye here. Mm-hmm. Maybe the bye's coming at a good point, but I think Bo has proven he deserves a leash here. Well, but they're 2-5. Maybe he gets one more game, and if he plays poorly again, Jake Mayer is going to have to be the guy for the rest of the year.
And I said it too after Saskatchewan lost to Winnipeg on Labor Day weekend. Because it's not on Labor Day, it's Labor Day weekend. That their bye week, and you said it, you mentioned it too. Their bye week came at a terrible time. They had a lot of momentum going in, especially with the home game against Winnipeg. They needed all the momentum they could get. And maybe right now a bye week is the best thing for Calgary to kind of get them off the slide that they're on, because I don't know what else stops it other than the fact they cannot lose a game this week.
Yeah. Well, losing Malik Henry in the return game turned out to be a big blow to the Stampede. They couldn't
Who
get
was
anything
returning
done.
kicks for Calgary? The Keystone Cops? It was the Keystone Cops.
It's
it was
bouncing
so
off
bad.
Well, the fumbles and the stuff in the first half on the kickoff returns were the most exciting part of the game.
Oh, yeah, which is so bad.
And I don't know what it was. The Calgary Stampeders, they couldn't even find their footing. Huff has fallen all over the place. Carey has fallen all over the place. It was just a poor showing. And with Kamar Jordan getting hurt, not playing the second half.
Yeah.
And I know they got the big 74-yard play to Luther Hakanavanu, which is probably the best name in the CFL right now. It's got to be top 3.
Yeah, it's definitely on the podium.
So Jordan going down, it really meant that the offense couldn't do anything after that. And good news is that Jordan's injury isn't serious. It does appear to be a hamstring, not the knee injury that he was coming off of.
Well, him and Bradbury should be getting the same treatment then.
Yeah. And I think the biggest gain from an offense in the first half came when Mike Rose kicked Nikolai Kalinic where you don't want to be kicked.
Oh man! Well, with all the kicking troubles we've seen this year in the CFL,
maybe he's got to get signed by Winnipeg.
He's just auditioning.
And Dave Dickinson did not pull any punches saying that he needs to grow up. He's had a few of those plays where it's cost his defense yards. Mm-hmm. He can't happen anymore. So the one streak still lives after this game. Orlando Steinauer still hasn't lost a game as head coach of the Ticats at home.
That's ridiculous.
It is very ridiculous. The second half of the Friday night doubleheader, the Saskatchewan Roughriders beating the Toronto Argonauts 30-16.
I'm going to be honest right now. I had Calgary laying 2.5 and Toronto. Or no, sorry, they were both. Calgary was plus 2.5. Toronto was plus 3.5. I'm like, Saskatchewan's garbage. They're gonna lose. And then there's no way Calgary loses to David Watford, and I lost $50.
See, Ty, this is why I didn't parlay my bets. So I still
parlays
came
are
ahead.
sucker bets, but I'm a sucker for that payout. Just it just keeps getting bigger and bigger with the more games I add. Much like today, where I broke even and then put all of my money in my account on the Chiefs plus 5.5 on a live bet, and it's looking pretty good right now. So I'm gonna make it all back.
Okay, nice. I don't know what to say. I mean, the Riders, they go to William Powell, and what a difference it made for that offense.
Who knew that establishing the run with one of the best running backs in the league would make that big of a difference in your offense? And next week, he's going to see the ball 8 times. So, I mean, enjoy it while it lasts.
21 carries, 122 yards. Maybe they smelled blood when both Enoch Mwamba and Cameron Judge get hurt. And if those guys aren't ready to go for the Argos going forward, that's going to be tough for that defense.
Yeah, you're going to need a bigger boat.
Oh, yeah.
You said smelt blood, so I went with the Jaws reference.
Well, and I'm respecting the boat with the boatmen. Like, that's so good on so many levels, man.
Didn't even catch that.
So Cam Judge leads the game, and now my first instinct was Achilles. He walked off the field under his own power, was later seen with a walking boot, but he wasn't touched on the play, and anytime you see that, it's usually never good.
It's not
good. Mwamba's is another soft tissue injury, so those don't seem to heal all that fast. And they've got the Alouettes coming to town on Friday. That'll be tough for the Argos. But William Powell with 21 carries, 122 yards, of course he can still get it done. They just need to get him the ball.
Yeah, and Toronto, you could almost take it as a win that they kept him out of the end zone.
Right.
You gave up 122 rush yards, but you didn't let him get in the end zone. You hold Cody Fajardo to 212 yards. you think you got a really good shot at winning that football game if you're Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, you give up 58 rush yards to Cody Fajardo, 122 to Powell, and, the Keon Schaefer-Baker, not comes out of nowhere, but, I mean, nine receptions for 99 yards, and adds a touchdown in, one big number, and, Toronto just didn't seem to have a lot of answers for a lot of what the Riders were doing.
Their tackling.
Oh, my God. Their tackling looked like what I imagined our old high school team looked like on Friday night when they lost 56-7 to the Catholic high school across town. And as alumni, we should be demanding better.
Kyron Moore bounces off of 4 Argos, and that's not really what we've come to expect from the Argos.
No.
But that's been kind of uneven play. They haven't won 2 in a row, but they haven't lost 2 in a row. And they left a lot of opportunities on the field. They got stopped at the goal line by the Rough Rider defense. There was dropped passes. I'm telling you, Davaris Daniels catches 1 or 2 of those balls.
Toronto wins this game.
This might be a different game. Yeah.
100%. You even look at the fantasy numbers that Toronto put up. Arbuckle, 22 of 33 for 309, 2 touchdowns and a pick. He's still 18.9 points. It's pretty decent. I mean, he's not considered a top, in your top 3 quarterbacks when it comes fantasy wise. Like when you're looking at guys to pick, but Eric Rogers, 19.7, Davaris Daniels, 16.7, Ricky Collins Jr., 15.1. But I mean, yeah, Rogers and Daniels aided by those touchdowns that they both scored, but Saskatchewan kind of with the pass defense, it was almost like a bend don't break. They just didn't. Yeah, they gave up the 2 touchdowns, but it never seemed like Toronto's passing game really got going. Or if it did, Saskatchewan was able to make it stop.
The Argos ended up having 6 turnovers.
Yeah, but that also helps.
The 12 penalties. They had 2 trips inside Saskatchewan's 5-yard line, and out of those 2 trips, they got 3 points. That's not going to win games in the CFL. Ask Montreal.
Ask Edmonton in the West Final.
Yeah, exactly. I'm curious to see what the Argos are going to do regarding the running game here. John White, I mean, he looked good when he got the ball. He had over 5 yards a carry, but when
he only
you're fumbling
had 7 carries.
Yeah, but when you fumble the ball, you start to lose those opportunities. It's just the way it goes. And DJ Foster and Chandler Worthy, those guys are able to make plays.
Yeah, and I mean, if John White, fixes the fumble issues that he has, and I'm not saying that he can't, I'm not saying that he won't, but there's no reason why they can't run that dual running back system, because they both do different things so well between him and DJ Foster that it's going to keep defenses on their toes and create a lot more opportunities for the offense.
Well, and Nick Arbuckle's got to start protecting the ball too. Yeah, you mentioned the pick. He did have an interception as well. And when he's throwing deep, it's not really looking all that accurate. And that's starting to hurt the Argos. And it did in this game. And, the receivers, they need to pull up their socks a little bit as well in Toronto.
It wouldn't hurt at some point for, if it's hard when your quarterback isn't as accurate on the deep ball, but being able to adjust and come back to a ball, and maybe at some point, I know we only threw 1 pick, but sometimes as a receiver you have to play DB. You're the one that has to break up an interception, right, and prevent the turnovers. But yeah, they could help him out a little more. I just, I think it's going to take a little bit of time. This is his first real starting gig, other than when he took over for an injured Bo Levi Mitchell, and I think that'll come. It's going to take a little bit of time to, he's played with Rogers and stuff like that before, but I mean, it's still going to take some time. And I think as we get on further into the year, and maybe, and maybe these guys, start to, I don't want to say they don't have trust in Nick Arbuckle, but I just don't think they're accustomed to where he's throwing the ball, so to speak, where they know their routes and where the ball should be. They're just not used to where the ball is coming from him. quite yet, and where he's going to miss. So once they figure that stuff out and they're able to kind of come back to the ball or adjust their routes a little bit while the ball's in the air, we could see them put up bigger numbers for sure.
Prime example is Eric Rogers' touchdown reception. He put himself in between the ball and Nick Marshall, and Marshall really just did not have a
That's
have
not
a
hard for guys to do. I mean, when was the last time you saw Nick Marshall play the man?
Yeah, it's just the ball, baby.
Yeah, so if you put yourself between him and the ball, you're either going to get a defensive pass interference or you're going to get a real easy catch, and he's going to blow past you, and you're going to get an extra 15 yards.
How about Kean Schaefer-Baker? I know we already talked about him, but he gets the boundary wide receiver spot basically where Shaq Evans was playing
for $2,500.
He's kind of playing like Shaq Evans a little bit. And if Evans gets back in, all of a sudden things are looking quite fun in the Saskatchewan receiving corps. You get 2 Canadians with the touchdown this week, Braden Linnaeus and Schaefer-Baker. Shaq comes back, and I think Rider fans are excited to see that. That Ricardo Lewis, though. You see that he's a 4th-round draft pick in the NFL, and after this, it's saying, what are you even doing on the roster?
Yeah. It's
wild how that works.
Yeah. But like you said, when Shaq comes back, if you're able to keep Schaefer-Baker in the lineup, which I think after the showings that he's put out, they have to. Linnaeus has been good. You still have Kyron Moore. They could have a really good receiving core. William Powell gets going. That offensive line gets a little better, I would think, throughout the year as they work together more as a unit. And this team, I don't think they're going to win the West. I think that's a foregone conclusion at this point. You're 2 games back. You're really 4 games back with tiebreakers. So, a home playoff game, I think, is well within the grasp of the way that this division's going right now. They just got to keep BC at bay, and I see them getting better as the season goes on.
Saskatchewan and BC playing this week will be quite the interesting game.
Huge.
Yes. It'll be a big one. So let's go to Saturday, the first half of that doubleheader. The BC Lions beating the Montreal Alouettes 27-18. It was all about the big play with the BC Lions and Lucky Whitehead. They made their big plays count, and Montreal just couldn't, bottom line.
It seemed that all Montreal really had going for it was William Stanback. And granted, it's about time, but nothing really went their way other than that.
Still really inconsistent with Vernon Adams. Sometimes he's thrown behind receivers, but sometimes Gino Lewis will drop the easy one and then make the circus catch in double coverage. You just got to make all of those catches.
Yeah, make the easy ones and go 50% on the circus ones. It shouldn't be the other way around. Yeah, this isn't me in flag football. I'm not going to get cut. He can get cut.
Stand back 139 yards on the ground, and yet Gino Lewis was the leading receiver, but 4 catches on 11 targets. And of course, the 2 returners getting hurt in this one, Mario Alford and Chris Rainey, 2 of the most electrifying players that can make plays in the CFL. But right now, the most electrifying man in sports entertainment is Lucky Whitehead. 6 catches, 133 yards, including a 75-yarder. Nobody's going to catch him.
No. And this was the week that I didn't have him in my lineup.
Thank you, Ty.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, still outscored you.
Oh, by 0.9. All about that Winnipeg defense.
They never ask how many. Did I win?
So that last-minute interception... That last-minute interception was the difference there. I can't believe it. I thought I was safe.
Gotta love those garbage time minus points.
Has Dominic Rhymes lost his job to Keon Hatcher for good?
That's a great question. Does he go back to Ottawa in the offseason and catch passes from Bo Levi Mitchell?
2 games, 2 touchdowns. That's a pretty good ratio.
How do you take him out?
I don't know. He's looking like Riley's going to start looking his way. There was the drive there in the fourth quarter when it was basically all him.
Yep. And you get a guy like that, if you're Michael Riley, where he makes a couple catches, then you can kind of key in on him, and the defense hasn't figured it out. And when you have a quarterback like Riley, he's going to exploit that, and we saw that on Saturday night. This
game actually had some good kicking, and when you see good kicking, you have to mention it. David Cote going 6 for 6, Jimmy Camacho 2 for 2, including the long 43-yarder there. So, I mean, you got to pay attention to because there have been times, even Brett Lawther missed another 2 this year. Kicking is an adventure.
Well, I mean, I don't know why somebody would buy a kicker's jersey while they're still on the roster. Not going to name names, but you know who you are, Sheldon.
No, the remarkable thing here is that the Alouettes had 456 yards net offense
and kicked 6
and
field
no
goals.
touchdown. When's the last time you've seen somebody put up 450 yards and not score a touchdown?
Madden, maybe.
That's got to be.
I got a real bad habit of throwing the fade route from the 5-yard line and getting picked for a touchback.
Well, there you go. TJ Lee has an interception in the end zone. I mean, I guess they tightened up. The Lions defense did when they had to and kept them out of there, but that's a remarkable stat.
Do the Lions not have a pick in every game?
They're the only team.
That's amazing.
To have done that.
And TJ Lee has been in this league for 40 years.
He's underrated, man.
Nobody
I
ever
really
talks about TJ Lee.
No.
It was him and why can't I think of the other DB that was around forever with him in BC?
Phillips?
Yeah. Phillips and Gary
Peters.
Banks. Yeah. Gary Peters was around there for they always seem to have
Marsh they had there for.
Yes. Yeah. They just seem to have DBs that can play and nobody ever talks about them. And it's not like
That's true.
It's not like in the NHL where, they're on the West Coast, nobody gets to see their games because they're on too late. They're nationally broadcast games once a week and still nobody talks about, their secondary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure if they had Taylor Loeffler, we'd talk about them more, but
he's still available. Sign it. I think for Montreal here, without having their head coach, Kahari Jones, it probably went better than I thought it would. And that's the same deal for Toronto. They lost 2 coaches for quote-unquote personal reasons. Rich Stubler's calling the game, and that was the toughest game for their defense all year. But when Montreal doesn't turn the ball over, they win. It sounds cliche, but their wins this year, no turnovers. In their 3 losses, 7 turnovers. So that's clearly...
Start live betting the Als.
Yeah.
The minute they turn the ball over, you're picking money line or the spread the other way.
Yeah. Michael Riley, that guy, he's got braces on every limb. He's questionable every single game.
How he is not coming out, when BC comes out of the tunnel, how the glass doesn't break and the guitar riffs start, I'll never understand it. He should be playing in jean shorts.
Oh, I'd love that. 21 of 25, 308 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 33 rushing yards as well. I mean, everybody's talking about Zach Collaros' MOP, but I think Riley's kind of giving him a run for his money.
Zach Collaros had 2 good games. What are we talking about? Who's this? Who are these people that were talking about MOP for Zach Collaros? It was not me.
Okay, it wasn't you. It might have been me.
Yeah, don't you put that hate on me, Ricky Bobby.
And then this next game where the Winnipeg Blue Bombers beat the Edmonton Elks, Ty when this game started, it was 14-0, not long in, and it ended up being 37-22 Winnipeg. I was worried it was going to be a 55-1 game or something for Winnipeg.
I would have loved every second of that.
So, all things considered, with Taylor Cornelius making his first ever CFL start, the Bombers getting up to a 14-0 lead. To their credit, the Elks fought back, and they stayed in this game. And what got them back into the game was actually an interception in the end zone by Trumaine Washington. And it was his second game in a row with an interception. And the only 2 interceptions that the Elks defense has had this year. You compare that with the BC Lions, the Elks aren't really forcing turnovers at all.
No, and you would think with their defensive line, with the likes of Boateng and Betts and Ceresna and all those guys, that they would be getting a lot of pressure and making quarterbacks make bad decisions or throw under pressure and not throw good passes, and that just hasn't been the case. Granted, Aaron Grimes is going to say that he defends a lot of passes, but it's just because they overthrow receivers and he claims them. But for the defense, that front seven they have, and especially now with Moncrief, you'd expect the turnovers to start coming in bunches.
Yeah, maybe they will. Maybe they'll start making that happen a little bit. They don't seem to be able to pressure the quarterback that much off the end.
No. And I mean, at the same time, this game isn't a very good bearing of that, with it being Winnipeg's offensive line. And Jamarcus Hardrick's such a bully. Like, he's picking on people before the game that are like a foot smaller than him and 200 pounds lighter.
I laughed at that. I was like, 29 on Edmonton? Just give up. Like, he's in your head.
That's me with your brother. Yeah. That's me with your brother at the Bombers party Labor Day weekend 2019, when everybody was everybody was making fun of him, and me wearing a Bombers jersey started yipping back like a little chihuahua, and knowing that if something happened, Patrick was still there.
Yeah, as soon as Ty knows that he's got somebody that's got his back, his mouth just grows exponentially. It's just...
I don't go looking for it. I don't go looking for it.
Really?
Depends on who it is.
That's the story. Like, Winnipeg's offensive line, there it is. I mean, they were just all over Edmonton. Harris had 97 yards on the ground. It's just like every time that they give him the ball, it's 5 yards. And when you're in second and short,
down real easy.
Yeah, and when you can't tackle, just like on that Nick Dembski rushing touchdown for 21 yards.
Bishop Sycamore in the house.
What was that? That
was... yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, and that's, of course, before the Elks fought back in this game. And they had a lead, 16-15. And
I was never worried at that point, though.
I've heard it said, and
that no lead is safe.
And Zach Collaros made almost the same mistakes as Taylor Cornelius did. The difference is Winnipeg can kind of recover from those, and they did have a 14-point lead before those mistakes happened. Yeah. But when Winnipeg misses a field goal, and if you would have given up the single point, it would have been a tie game, and I'm pretty sure Edmonton would have been happy with that and the field position.
Yeah, you're not stuck inside your own 10.
But you take the ball out of the end zone, you end up pinned deep in your own end for your young quarterback making their first ever CFL start.
Literally in the shadows of his goalposts.
Yep, and there's a pick six to DeAndre Alford, who maybe there's the DB of the week that we got to talk about here. 2 interceptions. He forces a fumble on Darrell Walker. Darrell Walker's getting paid the big bucks, and this year he's not making it happen. And this week, covered by a rookie, the rookie won.
Yeah, that's safe to say. Usually when I go through the stats, I'll look, like I put guys in order, like we always go quarterback, running back, and then all the receivers, right? I usually don't worry about guys who are under 10 points. I didn't even see Darrell Walker show up on my spreadsheet. He was that far down.
2 catches for 34 yards.
That's 5.4 points. Not even half of what Mike Jones got.
Look, some of them are on, the quarterback's throws.
For sure.
But Walker has not looked
it hasn't been a good season as a whole.
Yeah. 87
great
is
season.
looking different.
Yeah, he's looking like a Darius Bowman when he had the dropsies. Just
Mike Jones. Mike Jones, the leading receiver. There was a lot of Mike Jones who in this game because there was Mike Jones as a DB for the Bombers as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That
he
gets
did not show up
confusing
on my stat sheet.
What did you think about Taylor Cornelius? I know there were 3 interceptions, but 19 of 33 for 243 yards. The interception for a touchdown is a big mistake. Getting fumbled, Big Hill returning that for a touchdown is a big mistake. But the perception I got from Elks fans, in the bathroom, the guys discussing the game, they felt hope with Cornelius on the bus the game.
They're also the same people that thought James Franklin was a starter.
On the bus after the game, some Elks fans were impressed by his performance. From what I could pick up.
Why?
But between the guy whining about vaccines, they seemed... Yeah, I had to listen to that for 20 minutes.
You're right in the heart of it there. I mean, holy...
I was like, dude, you were just at the game. So clearly you have it. Whatever. So you weren't a fan of Taylor Cornelius, were you?
No. Why? What was there to be excited about?
There's something to build off of, Oh
my God.
You don't think so? He could move the pocket to keep plays alive. He could use his legs a little bit. He's got arm strength.
And in 5 weeks, he's not going to get any more reps.
Okay, what if he was playing Ottawa instead of Winnipeg? Because I think we almost need to consider that.
If he's playing Ottawa and puts up these numbers, I'm cutting him.
That's true. Because we got to consider that. Because look at what Saskatchewan looked like against Winnipeg.
Much like I'm cutting the
Toronto.
entire defensive line on the Riders next time they go offside at the goal line, because that's just stupid.
That's still happening across the league. I don't get it. Get it.
You should be banned from the league. You'd be cut and on the commissioner's exempt list. You cannot get signed. Great. He's got mobility, but 243 yards. He throws 3 picks. Just above 50% completion. Great. If you guys want to be happy, be happy. But I couldn't be less impressed.
I guess I thought it could have been worse. So maybe that's me. The glass is half empty.
Well, yeah, you could have threw 4 picks.
And
James Wilder gets 2 rushing touchdowns, 71 yards, makes the game a little bit more respectable. Without James Wilder, this game is an absolute boat race.
The loudest Commonwealth Stadium got on Saturday night was Dakota Prukop's 44-yard run. That was something to watch, man.
Well, I have a feeling next home game the loudest it's going to get is at halftime when Mbop starts. I've never been more upset that I'm missing an Elks game.
The last time Edmonton and Calgary both missed the playoffs was 1949, the first season that Edmonton entered the CFL.
Oh, my goodness.
And that could actually happen. I want to ask you what you thought of Elizondo throwing the challenge flag on the first drive. So Darvin Adams catches a touchdown pass. They throw the challenge flag for pass interference. Well, guess what? The drive ended in a touchdown pass to Darvin Adams anyway.
It really? I get it because he's got the rookie quarterback and he doesn't want to get him behind the 8 ball early. But if you're going to give up the touchdown anyway.
Well, I guess it's more of a conversation if they got it wrong, but yeah, he was right anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. At the same time, I don't know if I agree with that call either.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it was a 50-50 chance, and he took the chance. And, yeah, it probably helps out his quarterback there if they don't give up that touchdown anyway. But I get the reasoning if that's what he was thinking. Like, yeah, I don't want, I got a rookie who's never started before, don't need him down early. But at the same time, it's the first drive of the game. Like, I don't care what the circumstances are. I'm not doing that.
Kenny Lawler only had the one catch for 30 yards. That was something. That was something else. According to Mike O'Shea, through the bye week here, they're going to be sticking with the field goal kicker, Ali Mortada.
Why?
Who missed a field goal from 28, 51, and 44.
I can make that field goal from 28 yards.
Next time we're in the same spot, we're hitting a football field. I want to see if you can kick a 28-yard field goal.
Okay, done deal.
Yeah, I got to see this happen. I think my range is about 14 yards.
I'm definitely bringing the Rub A535 because I won't be walking to the vehicle afterwards.
Yeah, torn groin on the 28-yard field goal attempt. I got to see this.
Oh, it's going to be real great, too, because I won't be home till Christmas, so there should be lots of snow.
Okay. Top fantasy performers for Week 7, Ty.
Okay, quarterback, of course, Fajardo, 26.3. Michael Riley, 23.6. Nick Arbuckle snuck onto the podium at 18.9, which...
Wow.
You had the two of the three highest guys in the same game. At running back, James Wilder Jr. led the way at 25.1. Stanback at 15.8. William Powell at 15.7. And your wide receivers, Lucky Whitehead, I thought he was literally going to run away with it. Ha 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 ha. 25.4. Thank God you laughed because that was so bad. Shafe and Bake with 24.9. Eric Rogers, $2,500. Yeah. Darvin Adams, 18.3. DeVaris Daniels, 16.7. 7 and 8 too. Nick Dembski at 16 and Ricky Collins Jr. at 15. Like, Toronto had three of the top 7 receivers and didn't win the football game.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had to start two $2,500 players because when Shaq Cooper was out, and by the time I saw it, my guys were done. So I just had to throw in James Butler. Thankfully, he did get a touchdown to get double digits, but if he didn't get the touchdown, it would have been ugly.
My top performer was my defense.
Yeah, 2 TDs from the Bombers. That paid off.
Yeah, 2 fumble recoveries, 3 picks, and a sack.
Wow.
23 points.
I win my Canadian Football Podcast Network Fantasy Challenge with Rod from the Wood Cookie Sawcast, 87.9 to 43.5. It was just... Sorry, Rod, that was an ugly game.
That is... Right now, that's the Orioles versus the Diamondbacks.
We both go 2-2 and pick them. After Friday night, it was not looking good.
What a joke Friday night was. That was so bad.
So we go to the 2 and Out fantasy group. Shout out to a guy using the handle 2 and Out who doesn't start a flex and got 129.7 points.
Like, how is that even possible?
Michael Riley, James Wilder Jr., DJ Foster, Lucky Whitehead, Kean Schaefer-Baker in the Bomber defense.
But it doesn't count because he didn't have a full lineup, so it doesn't really matter, does it? I don't care if it's your defense or your flex position. You got to have a full lineup.
Full lineup, and if you don't have it, you're a cheater, right?
It's erroneous.
And if I go to Pick'em, the 2 and Out group, which you can join at pick'em.cfl.ca, the winner...
You could join right now and be ahead of us.
That's true. It's been a rough season. Paul Football was the winner this week. This episode of 2 and Out is brought to you by Roomy. If you've got cold drafts, flickering lights, and You're wondering where that leak is coming from. And if you've really wondered what's going on in your home, no matter where it is, Roomie's Ask a Home Inspector service can help. Connect with a certified professional home inspector by phone or video call and get your questions answered. Roomie will let you know what's easily fixable with a little DIY or when you might need to call in some professional help. Visit roomie.ca, that's RUMI.ca, and book your Ask a Home Inspector appointment today. Now, Ty, this is a little bit different way to wrap the show because Week 8 is a wacky one. We got a game on Wednesday. The Hamilton Tiger Cats taking on the Ottawa RedBlacks. Right now, the Ticats are 10.5-point favorites. The over-under is set at 41.5. Now, before
Ottawa
we hit record...
cover, 100%.
See? Now, before we hit record... I kind of said this might be Ottawa's last chance to win a football game this year.
It reminds me a lot of Bull Durham when he's like 8-16. How do we ever win 8? How'd they ever win 1? Let alone have a chance to win 2.
The reason I say that is because they're coming off a bye week. Hamilton is coming off a game with Calgary just on Friday night. Ottawa's already practiced. Now, when it comes to the CFL veterans, it's looking pretty ugly, but Devontae Dedmon is back in there. I'm guessing they're going to have the debut, maybe, of Kenny Stafford in the receiving core. Ty Rogers on the offensive line hasn't practiced
Brendan
yet
Galanders is practicing at a full capacity. I mean, the running game should be lights out.
I love now, Ty, the RedBlacks signing former Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Devlin Hodges.
Already ordered it.
You're getting a RedBlacks Hodges jersey?
Dude, Duck Hodges? Why not?
Now, I don't know if he's going to be the future of this franchise, but they did sign him to a 3-year deal. He's been on the RedBlacks negotiation list for 4 years.
If Dom Davis loses this job to Delvin Hodges, who's never taken a snap, what does that tell you about Dom Davis?
Hey, this is pretty big, man.
If it happens.
He started 6 games in the NFL, all with the Steelers. He's only 25. Maybe he's going to be their starting guy next season. Maybe he gets into the games.
I have to cheer for Ottawa.
Hey, if this works out for Ottawa, this will be big for them. He's still young and everything like that. And they've got an entirely new receiving core. Former Dallas Cowboys receiver Terrence Williams coming in. Obviously, you got to get these guys through quarantine. You got to get them used to the CFL game, all sorts of things. But at least the RedBlacks are trying to make changes because what they were doing before wasn't going to work.
No, that's fair to say. And, let's say Delvin Hodges, he's signed, he gets through his quarantine, joins the roster, he'd probably be on the practice roster or whatever. I think having Matt Nichols around is going to be a huge positive for him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Having never taken a snap in the CFL, right? So, I mean, if he is their quarterback of the future, which, I mean, the way Dom Davis has played hasn't been horror awful. It hasn't been great. At the same time, the way this team was constructed this year, it was constructed to tank.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody who thought this team was going to make playoffs was on something.
Yeah, it's really sad how the season started for fans of that team. I'd be pretty choked, but clearly they had to be instructed to save money with, the whole situation we're in right now. If you had to bet, who's starting
I don't have to, but I'm going to.
Who's starting at quarterback for the Ticats? Is it Mazzoli or Watford?
Watford. You never critique a win. Randy Carlisle. If it ain't broke, why would you change it? Why'd you fix it?
This is big for the Ticats. Braylon Addison tweeting, "I'm coming." So I'm guessing that means he might be making his season debut on Wednesday, and that would be a big addition for the Ticats. Oh, man. Me too.
Can we even say that joke? Like, seriously, are we not doing phrasing anymore?
Well, it's spelling. I guess it's
yes. You'd be a welcome addition to that receiving core, and another weapon for Watford. He's not really stretching the field, but I mean, if you can get the ball in Braylon Addison's hands, he's able to make people miss and gain positive yards. So it's never a bad thing when you can add weapons to the offensive side of the football.
I'm starting to really wonder if Poppy White's going to have a massive breakout. They gave him 6 carries against the Stampeders. He had 3 catches. Tim White is really doing well as well. He had double-digit fantasy points in the receiving game against Calgary.
The only receiver for Hamilton with double digits.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, we've seen
they threw for 149 yards. What were you expecting? And so you're looking at 14.9 points.
Wow. Okay.
Right? Minus receptions, I guess.
We've seen them do this with Braylon Addison, where he's kind of getting the ball from all over the field. So if he's healthy...
And Brandon Banks.
He had over 200 rushing yards, 36 carries in 2019, a rushing touchdown as well. So if they're going to have, 4 or 5 guys that are capable of rushing the ball, Watford will be a happy camper.
Yeah, Braylon Addison, second highest points against Ottawa in the receiving core for Hamilton right now on the roster. So, and the way Ottawa's defense is, I see that if he plays and with Watford there, and the way that Condell is moving with the waggle and the pre-snap motion, everything, I see him being able to put up big numbers if he's in the lineup.
Addison had 11 catches for 160 yards against the RedBlacks in 2019.
That's 27 points.
That's 2 games. I should clarify that.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, that's not that impressive then. It's 2 years ago. I probably drank more Cokes than he had yards.
So, RedBlacks, Ticats, you know what? I will take Hamilton to win straight up just because of the Ticats defense and the way they're playing. But that 10.5 points, it's tempting to...
You take Ottawa. Like, Hamilton's laying 10.5. Come on. Dom Davis.
You're all
He's
in.
The answer.
I love it. I love this. I'm never going to bet on the CFL again, and then he sees Ottawa plus 10.5. I'm in.
How do you walk away from that line? That's how they get you, Travis. Join the dark side. Let the hate flow.
Enjoy Wednesday night football, baby. We'll be back to talk to you on Thursday, I guess, after that Ticats and RedBlacks game. Give 2 and Out a rating and a subscription wherever you get your podcasts. We'll talk to you in a few days.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.